question. Everybody wants something to be beneficial, or if we find ways to innovate, implement those innovations. That's not in question. What is in question is the retarded pragmaticism that you're trying to go with and into this utopia. And yeah, sure, we all want to be in a more perfect society, but not if we have to do fucking impossible tasks in order to get there. Maybe we should put maybe 2 brain cells that we have left together and make a coherent plan as to how to go through there, rather than just being like, but what if we put all these buildings into farmland?
Listen, first, before I go on, because I will leave this conversation, you call me a retard.
Yeah, and what about it, retard?
The stage. You called
me
a
retard. I called you Friday on the short bus like 4 times. What's your apologize?
Bubba?
What?
I mean, do I get to know 70s ad? It says, still live. Because I'll get the ad, right? Like, they literally talk about retard and how they...
Okay, he left. He left.
He left? Okay, thank God.
I'm so sorry. If you wish to turn off, right? If you wish to dinner and you called a retard in Roger's room, get the fuck out.
Yeah, I was so tired of that. Come on, that was so long, dragging on bullshit.
You know, let me ask a question. Marshall, do you really think that by engaging in the way that you're engaging is, you know, good decorum? Is it good for your health? Like, why are you so razzled up and so animated right now, Dr. Marshall?
Good decorum, absolutely not. Emily Post would be horrified. Why does it work me up? Well, I guess for 2 reasons.
Retards are irritating.
Yeah, that, and I really don't like when people claim to love history and then can only quote me like one little itty bitty piece of it, and then like use that little itty bitty piece to say they understand a whole lot wider thing. I'm the first to admit I don't know everything about history. I fucking love it. I know a lot, but I'm willing to admit what I don't know. And this motherfucker couldn't admit that all he read was Thomas Paine like 25 years ago, which is fine. But like Thomas Paine should not be the only formative American writer of the Revolutionary period you read.
It's not just that. It's just a conservative version of the Marxists. Whenever the Marxists will claim, like, yeah, I'm a Marxist, I have a lot of reading, but I only read this fucking Communist Manifesto, and that's it.
Yeah, it's a good explanation. It's really good explanation. Exactly.
Yeah, I read Capital, but I don't know what any of it means.
Yeah, I think that's what I was trying to get Mark to understand, which of course is a waste of fucking time with a lot of people. But yeah, it's like, man, we don't have to be geniuses. You know what I'm saying? We don't all have to be perfectly informed on everything. But to Marshall's point, like, man, we gotta at least read some. Like, we gotta. There's people that are, and I tell people this all the time. Like, there's people that are much smarter than us about a given subject that have already written about this shit. So why do I want to spend 20 fucking years to come to a realization that somebody already came to fucking 200 years ago? If we utilize this knowledge and information, we can have better informed conversations and not this fucking kumbaya shit that he was trying to do. It's so fucking annoying. Like, the ECP, there are proposed ideas and solutions. There's market socialism. There's algorithmic planning. There's all this different types of shit that people have proposed. Now, whether or not they work, you can have that discussion. But if you can't even point to some of these concepts, like, because by no means am I an expert. I would consider myself like fairly new to like starting to research this shit in earnest. But even like, man, like it's very concerning knowing how little I know and how confident some people who absolutely know fucking zero are about shit. It's super fucking crazy. And then like the more you start to learn, you start to see how fucking just imaginary and whimsical people's are. Like the fucking, like, oh, we're gonna all grow our own food, bro. If you spend about, I don't know, one day like looking into how we got to where we are today, like, how the market works, how farming in general works, like, you would know we literally cannot.
Hey Dwight, let me ask you a question. Are you okay with the U.S. national debt going to $47 trillion?
No, I think we should be trying to reduce the debt and not increasing it.
Now here's another question. Do you believe in a dramatic chop the arm off, or like a bit by bit over like a decade and a half?
It will have to be bit by bit. We have to start making some decisions to figure out places where we can spend less, reduce costs, and possibly, I mean, I don't know if we can, and again, look, I'm an expert, but from my limited understanding, I don't know if we can actually, reduce the amount of money that the government takes in with the amount of debt that we have, at least for now. Once we get to a certain point, maybe we can, and we can kind of reduce some of that government involvement. I don't know if we can do that now, though.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm of the opinion of one thing, and then you do it right. It's all those agencies do cost a lot of money. I'm much more of the let's take a targeted approach to the budget, not like, hey, I'm requiring you to hit 1/3 cuts, and you're only hitting 10%. Right now, let's go through a government-wide audit, figure out what costs what. Which, the good thing is, there are a bunch of mechanisms in place to do a lot of that work. So, if you engage the mechanisms and reform them, you can get some of the answers you need. It just depends.
Yeah, like I was talking about earlier, reducing medical costs. If we actually had policy, if we can enact policy, I don't know, the exact, but for sure, we can enact policy that will allow us to reduce the administrative costs. Cut out some of all this middleman shit is a big part of what costs us a lot of money. So that's a huge chunk right there.
You're talking about the insurance company, right?
And Marshall, you want to increase the debt, though, correct? But you want to increase it slower, because that's what you're saying.
If you're paying me down to something, yes, but for a totally different reason than you actually saying. My little brother was responsible for something called the no-NASA reauthorization, which, if you're a candidate listening to get familiar with it, you may get asked questions about it. The non will probably benefit you on the trail. But he had to do reauthorization of the National Oceanographic and Atmospheric Service. And they had a couple of problems that were wrong. One, they bought Dell computers. The Dell computers were, essentially obsolete in a year or 2 years, and then the government would buy more Dell computers. Well, in the Lockheed Road, they got the computing space, and they used computers so they get the newest version the federal government was updating. He then took the 2G ones they had to take swarm measurements, and what was always in the shop, so it always cost the federal government more money. So they kept one and then leased one, bought a Predator with the excess to go in and take storm measurements inside of tornadoes, hurricanes, and shit. And they were able to take the weather predicting system, partition against universities. Anyway, that bit of detail is supposed to know that he ended up saving several $1 billion. That, on a staff level, that's what I would want it to look like. If what you're suggesting is that to the public, it is rah-rah cuts. When it gets to the government, it is, okay, how do we do this in a way that makes sense? I'm on board with you. But it's always, to me, sounded like you want to take a machete to the right arm, and then you're going to be surprised when the patient bleeds out. Right? Something's got to give with all of that funding. And people, at least post New Deal, they are not as opposed to bureaucracy as the Republican Party itself is. I mean, one thing you embody very well, actually, is the disliking of the bureaucratic state. That's a constant Republican view. But the fact that we're running up against people that have long bureaucracy, that detail counts. It matters. And I think when it's not taken into consideration, you end up in a bad place. Again, it's not to say I don't want to cut government programs. It's just I think that's the responsible way to do it. I think just hacking the patient's arm off is wasteful of taxpayer dollars and bad governance. I doubt that you yourself intend for bad governance. I'm just telling you that's kind of how it gets made. Again, in your mind, you gotta take the arm to save the patient. I understand that. I'm not on board with taking the whole arm, man. And I don't think I ever will be. I think it needs to look like I described. Because it's considered, thought out, it takes into account the actual money we spend instead of just unplugging shit willy-nilly. But I understand how to convince yourself. I mean, I'm welcome to mine and you're welcome to yours.
Yeah, like how do we if the debt continues to increase, like what's our end game? You know what I'm saying? If we just keep spending unlimitedly, is unlimitedly a word? Fuck, I'm getting so fried from that conversation with Mark. Goddamn. But you get what I'm saying.
Yeah. We fall apart.
Right.
Countries that run out of their banking systems and they collapse because of debt consideration, they can morph into loose regional territories, or it could be all out disintegration. Probably in the United States, if that ever happened, it would be regional. But that's debt apocalypse, and correct me if I'm wrong, but that's essentially your point. Your point's debt apocalypse, and you don't want it.
Yeah, it's like we have to, we can't, because it feels like the way that our government is operating, and of course, government is not nebulous, but it's a collective entity. It's unfeeling. It's a bunch of people with different agendas doing different things, and it seems like what we're doing is just continuously growing this debt, and the solutions being proposed. Some of these problems is to fucking grow the debt more, see OBBB. You know what I'm saying? So that's where I'm it just seems because when you ask that, was it John? When you ask that, it's I think why you're asking the question, but it's as opposed to what? We're just gonna keep growing the debt indefinitely until shit just crashes? We can't do that.
Well, even if every federal agency cut spending by 20% and the budgets were lowered for Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, the national defense, and even interest, it's still not enough. We're spending $2 trillion a year we don't have. If we could somehow get Congress to pass a law that says you can't spend more than you collect, period. Is 2.6 billion a day not enough to pay the police force to protect our national perimeter? Something has to give. There has to be a forensic accounting type of attitude to the situation. And no, you can't just keep piling on debt day after day after day, infinitely. We the people have to say this is enough. This is not how we run our personal lives. This is not how we would run a pizza shop. Are we in the third grade or are we graduates? This is for children. It's just common sense. It's pragmatism.
Yeah, and I think that's part of what makes it so challenging that a lot of people don't realize. It's people say simple shit oh, tax the rich, which, look, trust me, bro, I'm a leftist. I 100% say tax the rich, but it's foolish to think that that's gonna solve our problems. If you tax all of the rich at fucking pre-Reagan era levels, if you tax the rich at 70%, I forget, I ran the math on this, and it makes a dent in our debt, and it makes a dent in the deficit year over year. But that's it. It makes a dent. People think oh yeah, we could just tax the rich. They have all the money. It's no, that's not. Yeah, there's a lot of individuals that have a lot of the money, but our greater economy is so much more than that. So even if you were to do that and do what you're saying, where you make these huge cuts, still it's bad. I don't know. It's seriously. This is why we need to be referring to the people, and we need to be utilizing. I think that's one problem in our society is we're not utilizing people that actually know what the fuck they're doing well enough. We have too many politicians making decisions that are maybe not, informed by sound economic judgment, because we just continue to do the shit and it doesn't change. And it's all right, are we gonna just keep going in this direction or what? And people, like I said, people think they have a solution, and they think it's oh yeah, just tax the rich. Oh yeah, just cut Medicaid. Oh yeah, just do this, and you can't. It's way more money than that. It's way more big than any of that, even combined. But do tax the rich though, because why the fuck is a billionaire paying, fucking an effective tax rate of, single digits.
You do realize,
Middle class,
Dwight, it's not
pays
retroactive.
Middle class pays not shit.
Dwight, it's not retroactive. You don't just go back and say, hey, guess what? Now you owe us all this additional money. It's not retroactive. This is an annual budget and an annual disclosure. The point is, we have to cut borrowing and spending. If you cut spending, a lot of the rich people who profit from the federal spending, they're not going to have any income because they're not getting the money because there's nothing being spent. It's a cyclical system. The problem is the borrowing and the spending. Dwight, go ahead and tell us, what's the difference between borrowing and spending?
Well, with borrowing, you are, for one, your net cost ends up being higher than if you were just spending money. If you're spending something, you already have it. You're depleting a positive balance to zero. If you're borrowing, you are taking I guess you could say like a zero to begin with and going into the negative and adding interest on top of that in almost all cases.
Got it. And what is 100 times 1,000?
100,000.
So we asked the former speakers what 100 times 1,000 is, and they couldn't tell us what it is. Do you think that people might disclose their IQ or even their personality disorders on this app?
Oh yeah, that's our education system has failed us.
Do you think being $37 trillion in debt is a failure of the education system?
No, that's a policy failure and a result of a complex set of factors that isn't so simple to put into one sentence.
Got it. So let me ask you one more question. What does education produce?
Education produces innovation as well as a more skilled labor force. What's out there asking for these Cheerios? Take them. I think that the value of education is when you have one, a more informed, like in a democracy, you want your voters to be more informed, and therefore they can make better decisions in their best interest. You have a better opportunity for innovation, which is going to secure your place in a global market. I mean, obviously, if another country is outperforming us in medical innovation, or especially fucking pray to God, we're not being outpaced in military innovation. And then we also have people who are like individuals.
Wait, Dwight, let me just interject here. Do you think that morality and intelligence, do you think morality and ethics are intelligent? Like, is it a part of intelligence to be moral and ethic?
That's a good question. I would say that most intelligent people that I know tend to be a little bit more. Actually, no. I don't know. I don't know if there's a correlation or not. I haven't really thought about that.
Because I asked you, what does education produce? And in my opinion, the purpose of education should be to produce what's called intelligence. Now, a group of people that supposedly have intelligence, they probably wouldn't go $37 trillion into debt. It's like asking the CEO and his vice president, to run up the credit card bills and destroy the company for no fucking reason. So I'm just asking if you thought maybe morality was a component of intelligence.
I like to think it is, but I don't know. I know some really smart and really fucked up people that I would even go so far as to describe as evil. So I don't know. Actually, you know what? I want to say, I'm going to tentatively say that I've seen information that would suggest to me that higher education levels are associated with more ethical behavior, but that's real nebulous in my mind. I haven't looked into anything like that anytime recently, but I'm a guess and say yes.
Well, congratulations. You just won yourself a $37 trillion debt as a citizen, and it's only going up from here. Congratulations.
Definitely going to go up. We are not in any shape, or form going in the other direction. That's for goddamn sure.
What do you know about herd psychology, Dwight? What do you think the term herd psychology means to you?
I don't know that I've looked up the technical definition of that recently, but it reminds me of identity fusion, where people will align to an ideological group, and rather than be a member of that group and still retain their individualistic positions, they will often compromise and take on the positions that are considered to be, I guess, consensus in that group. So as a result, you get people who kind of herd or become tribalistic, and as a result, may behave in ways that appear irrational, unethical, or just generally bad. But it can be good too. It's not. I don't think it's inherently bad. I think it has pros and cons.
So if you think a herd of cattle or a herd of pigs walking over a cliff and all committing suicide, can be is that a good thing or a bad thing?
That would be an example of the bad things.
So
I think like the good thing, I can give you an example of the good. The good would be like I'm not religious, and I have like a lot of criticisms of religion, but I'm actually not against people being religious or going to church. I think that sense of community that they have is a positive impact in their life. So there's a herd mentality that goes into that. They kind of have a shared camaraderie that I think is valuable. So that can apply to anything. I mean, any sort of group could have positive attributes, but you can also be Hamas.
So what is a good example of what we call capital?
A good example. What do you mean by that?
Well, the title of the room is "What is Capitalism?" So what does the word capital mean to you?
I guess in layman's terms, money. Let me look it up. What's the definition of capital? Because I'm not too proud to be like, look, let me just look up the definition before I conflate this word. Capital, wealth in the form of money or other assets owned by a person or organization or available or controlled for a particular purpose, such as starting a company or investing. So I'll go with that. And as far as good capital, I don't think there's a such thing as good or bad capital. I don't view that as inherently. I think it exists independently of morality. It's what people do with it.
And what would you consider communism to be?
Communism is I guess the idea that this is why, as I'm socialist but not communist, I think that for me the idea of communism is tied to a classless society. It's more so, I guess I would describe it as an attempt at something that I don't think we can accomplish, which is equality. The idea is that everyone owns everything. You may be post fiat. You might be post credit or any of that sort of thing. So I think communism is, I guess you could say kind of an attempt to be post-capitalist by means of eliminating class and eliminating private ownership, specifically of the means of production, which is a trait shared by socialists, but I think in my case, I'm opposed to communism because of the idea of seeking equality in a sense.
So if we were to make you king of America, the God Emperor, what would you do for your people?
Well, hopefully that wouldn't happen because, as admitted, I don't consider myself an expert in economics, but based on my limited understanding, I think I would do the first thing I said, which is like really focused on increasing the health. Like I would have a sincere health initiative where various methods like rethinking how we subsidize corn, all the corn syrup that we have so much of, we just dump it in everything, that sort of thing, as well as reducing medical costs so that we can try to reduce our spending. I think I would also, if I was king and I just had the ability to unilaterally decide, I think I would keep markets in place, but I think that one of the first things I would try would be capping CEO pay ratios, and it wouldn't be the same ratio for all size companies. For a smaller company, it would be probably a closer ratio. For a larger company, it would be a larger ratio. But I think this is a point I made to Serendipity earlier. It's not the idea of you have $1 billion and I want to take that from you and give it to other people. It's the idea that we made $1 billion and you kept the lion's share of it to yourself. And I think I would limit, especially large corporations' ability to generate that much capital, and there would not be an unlimited ratio that the highest earner, and I say CEO, but I'd really just mean like any of the highest earners in the company. And I think that would help with a lot. Like we wouldn't need really, people want to get rid of Social Security, people want to get rid of Medicaid, people want to get rid of some of what they view as, people leasing off the government. Well, yeah, I'd like to eliminate that too. The way I'd like to do that is by eliminating people's need for it, by making it to where we don't have so many people working for, say, a Walmart, where, like, the way, like, you know what I would do to make it even shorter? Walmart would not be able to operate the way that it operates. Walmart's highest earners bring in absurd amounts of income, and I'm not against that, to be clear. What I am against is for Walmart to bring in absurd amounts of income, pay its employees so little that they then have to either, take on SNAP benefits, take on Medicaid, a lot of the, I haven't looked this up recently, but I think a lot of people are aware, like, Walmart's employees, like their base level employees, the amount of resources that they take from taxpayer dollars just from Walmart alone is huge. So what if Walmart was forced to pay their workers a little bit more? And not that their workers are, just inherently, it's not like an emotional feel like, oh, we just have to be fair. Like, no, let's be fucking right.
Right.
Go ahead.
If you have wage controls, the obvious result that will come from that is you'll have a lack of jobs. This is what happens anytime you put wage controls in place. Because what will happen is the employer will then say, okay, well, we don't want increase in labor costs, and the government is saying that we need to increase the hourly pay for people. So we're going to have to figure out how to become more efficient. They will, especially in a world of AI and robotics, they will definitely be replacing human beings with robots. But the other thing that they'll do is they'll just continue to take full-time people, make them work part-time hours, and then just manage their productivity over that time more strictly. The thing is when you ask the government to get them to pay more wages, they don't do it. The reason why is because companies are going to pay what they can get away with. And now, what I think your frustration is that, what they can get away with is something that's too low. But I would caution you in the fact that the idea of too low is in the eye of the beholder, because there are people that are applying for those jobs, accepting those jobs, and remaining in those jobs at those wages. And while I would love for them to move up, the way for them to move up is to increase their skill, their knowledge, their abilities, and ultimately the value that they give to the company. If you can fire somebody at Walmart and instantly replace them with somebody that within 48 hours is just as productive as the person that worked there for 2 years, they don't have much leverage. And so what a better course of action would be, now it's risky, but a better course of action would be for Walmart employees to boycott, to basically strike. Even though they're not union members, they could just stop working. And if they stopped working, and if they did that across the country, how many days could Walmart afford to shut down before they have to say, okay, well, what the fuck is the grievance? And the likely thing that they would do is they would say, okay, we'll compromise. You guys are looking for $1 a raise an hour. Come back to work and we'll give you a quarter more, or maybe we'll give you 50 cents more an hour, and then over the next 2 years we'll get you up to the full $1 an hour. You could do these things. Employees have way more control in a viable way than the government does, because if the government gets involved, you're not going to get what you want. And I'll give you the final thing I'll say about this is, in the state of Washington, the state cracked down and the city cracked down even harder in Seattle on Uber drivers, DoorDash drivers, people that were delivering food, said that there was a mandate for these companies to pay, I don't remember exactly the dollar amount, it was like $20 an hour, $25 an hour. And the way that they measure how to pay them is when the person is en route to picking up the food or en route to delivering the food. Majority of the time now is spent idle, because what those companies did was they raised the delivery fee to a point where it broke the system, where less people are ordering. And so now there's people that were able to make money in the gig economy, driving and delivering people's food using their own vehicle. They're making less and less money despite the quote-unquote benevolent efforts of the state and the city of Seattle. And so all I'm saying is, I don't think your heart's in the wrong place. I just think that we have evidence to know that depending on what lever you pull, you might make the situation that you're against even worse.
I hear you on that. I guess my question would be, or kind of like the thing that comes to mind, like, I think that makes sense. Like, yeah, like, you know, we the workers, we outnumber, you know, CEO. They literally cannot operate without us. But I think if I'm Walmart in this situation, I do a cost-benefit analysis. What's going to cost me more money? Paying my workers more, or launching a campaign to stomp out unionization, all kinds of, like, we know companies do this, and I think Starbucks I think Starbucks might be an example, if I remember, where like they tried to do that and then the workers kind of overcame it. So I agree, like the workers can do that. I'm just not sure that I see it as existing in a vacuum. Like, it seems to me that the business still has the leverage and that they have the resources to actually suppress workers' ability to do that.
Yeah, and again, what I appreciate about the way that you've brought up this topic is we have a lot of people that are left of center, which I'm sure you are, that they argue this in a way where they have policy prescriptions that they know not to not work. And I think the good thing is that you're leading with the result that you're hoping for. And I think that's the right approach. I think people, regardless of your political persuasion, is you should think about, like, well, what is it that you're hoping to change? And then you have to figure out if the policy prescriptions you're making would do that. And in order to do that, the good thing is testing it at a city level rather than a state level, and certainly not a federal level, because if you are wrong and you make a mistake, you want to do the smallest amount of damage possible. And if you're right, you then have the benefit of being first to move, and then you can influence others to follow suit, and you can point to an example of how you instituted change, and then also lessons that you learned. Hey, this worked and it's benefiting things, but here's some things that if we could do it over again, we would probably do different because it would be even more efficient. And so change should come from small brush fires, I think. And what I think is necessary is you need people that carry a national message, that talk about the importance of the ideas, but then it needs to inspire people at a local level to go and, get the influence they need to make some of these changes. Also, I'm aware that some changes can't be done locally when you have multinational corporations that your local city council is not going to move the needle for. In those situations, a local Walmart, if every employee of the Walmart walked out, that would be a huge blow to them, even if it was just for one shift, not even the full fucking day. That brings companies like Walmart to a decision point. But you got to think of the decisions that they might make. They could decide, oh, well, maybe we'll just close that store. And that's what's happening with a lot of multinational companies. Starbucks employees demanded more wages, and now we see Starbucks stores closing.
Yeah, definitely. So, and that all makes sense. And I appreciate being able to have this conversation with you and some of these other people, because it's clearly, it's you're read on this, you know some things about it. So, my next question is, okay, let's say that all that's true, and let's say I agree, and let's say that the system as we have it still results in, let's just say that never happens, for whatever reason, we just don't have these smaller revolutions, or whatever you want to call it. As the government, would it not be irresponsible for me to allow Walmart to continue to operate in a way that literally creates these, quote unquote, leeches to the government that are using all of these SNAP benefits and all that sort of thing? Shouldn't, as a government, should I step in and try to mitigate the amount of people that require that type of assistance?
Yeah, well, I think this is where I would ask the question to somebody like a Hansen or a John Kitover, who are free market capitalists, to ask them what they think a solution would be to the abhorrent practice of a Walmart, a multinational company that makes a ton of fucking money for their shareholders and for their executives, when their part of their training is quite literally to show employees how to fill out government forms for assistance. I think if part of your employment strategy is to augment the welfare of the employees by showing them how to fill out government forms, I think that there is a problem. I don't know if the solution is to I know for me, small brush fires, I think, and whatever you think is necessary. But I would ask Carrie and John too. What do you talk about the importance of the ideas to a company like Walmart to make money that decides, to help their employees? They literally train them on how to fill out government assistance forms, because none of us want that either. So how do we solve that if it's not the government?
Well, the solution is to terminate these welfare systems. That's the best solution. And if Walmart is full, Walmart is right to teach the employees to fill out the system, because it helps them to get the system, if it is out there lawfully, legally. And I applaud Walmart for offering the assistance for free. Because if it is not, if the government is setting up the system and hoping the citizens are not legally implying, then the government is doing something untoward.
We got it, Hanson. So if you were Emperor King of America, what would you do for we the people? For your people, what would you do for them, Hanson?
As the government?
Yes, Hanson.
Protect private private property rights and uphold the sanctity of contracts. And nothing more.
I like how succinct that answer was. That was a great answer.
Thank you.
So what do you do in the event? What do you do in the event that the legal industrial complex, the lawyers, the judges become corrupted? Where does that leave you as a citizen for recourse in terms of, contracts and securing your property?
Well, that is when the government is very small, that because it immediately follows from that the government has only two functions to perform: namely protecting private property rights and the uphold the sanctity of contracts. And we don't have this gargantuan federal system, local system, that they can be put under the microscope very closely by we the people, more closely, and scrutinized by we the people more closely. And that's the solution. And they have less power to threaten we the people.
I think so, Hanson. Help me understand that though, because what do you view as the outcome? So let's say that we do that, we eliminate any sort of social net or eliminate those programs that you talk about. To me, all that does in my mind is you just take away, I guess, not a solution. I don't want to word this. You're not actually solving the problem of the people being paid so little that it creates. Again, I wish I was as succinct, but Walmart has to operate. If we take away the social net and do nothing else, all that means is people won't be able to have their needs met, which would lead to poverty, which would lead to Walmart actually losing workers in my mind, because how are you gonna live somewhere? How are you gonna have a car? How are you gonna do anything? It just seems like it would kind of make the problem worse, even though I get that the idea is to don't make it so convenient where people can just apply for these benefits and get them. But I don't know that taking them away solves the issue. It just takes away an avenue for them to get by.
How does that? Yeah, no. How does that not solve the problem? Because basically,
they're still going to be underpaid.
And what do you mean by underpaid? Earlier I heard you say that people are different. People's abilities are different, and they are paid accordingly. And so they paid at the price that they negotiate with, and according to their ability. We won't want even I want to be paid at the level of Elon Musk, and I suppose the other people wouldn't want that either. Or, of course, they want to. Everybody wants to pay more, but it is up to the people you deal with to employ you and who do the business with you and you to the party, the concerned party, to negotiate what's best for you too, right? So that is your price, whatever you pay. Basically, you enter into an agreement. It is a contract. It's a business contract. It's no different from when you do a business with, let's say, your company doing business with my company, right? So it's just voluntary trade. Whatever you want to pay me and whatever I can accept, we make the deal. Otherwise, there's no deal. Right. So okay, we enter in this deal, and then we just we carry out the contract. So it's very simple.
I agree. That aspect of it is simple, but what I'm saying is, what I mean by underpaid is, if I'm a full-time employee and I don't have enough to make ends meet, and I need SNAP benefits in order to, get by, and you take that away, realistically, then what? What happens?
So what do you mean by need that benefit? I mean, I need that means should I just go to the with Jeff Bezos and say, hey, you need to give me the Lamborghini plus the private jet? I'm hard to talk about payments.
Now we're talking about basic needs. Like I'm talking about
Okay, so what do you mean by basic needs?
so food, shelter,
Yeah. Sure.
transportation, depending on what part of the country.
I understand. Right. So food, what kind of food? Like I sometimes go to the Michelin star. That I mean that's one food, and I also go to the diner or the McDonald's. That's also food. Yeah.
Absolutely right. But I was not wanting to the top way. And there was a time where my minimum, absolute minimum expenses, I'm talking about no fucking
Hey,
McDonald's,
Dwight.
no fucking avocado toast,
Dwight, the McDonald's is great, but can I just interject here and say that Hansen is suggesting that his belief that securing property rights and contract rights and leaving everything else alone is the optimal business or economic solution because it's the most efficient and everybody benefits at a higher level than with your central state planning type, opinion.
Right, but I'm saying he's saying like he would eliminate SNAP benefits and that would solve it. I'm saying how? All that does is it's gonna make some people not be able to, or like people will either starve or not be able to work. Some people will do better, but
Most people actually can work and get the food and all that. But when you provide these benefits, they choose not to. And so when you can get things that without working, of course you want to get things instead of go work and have your spend whatever benefit taken away.
But the reality is capitalism is rigged. It's rigged. It's rigged. If it was
Simon, pause. No, capitalism isn't rigged. The system that we have is rigged. The system we have is not capitalism. Continue.
No, okay, in which case I take the back and completely 100% agree with you. So if it's capitalism, it needs to be a reform. Absolutely. But it's not. And so therefore, we're talking about something that is not a reality. The gap between rich and poor is the inequality gap, if you want to call it that, is the biggest it's ever been since the 1960s.
Exchange war a couple of days ago. Now, Trump said he was deploying nuclear submarines against China because they were on the cusp of invading Taiwan. Believe me, nuclear submarines can make a hell of a difference in that particular war. The nuclear submarines aren't going to make a difference in the war, right? So, in that,
You don't need to complain about it.
Well, I think we should tax wealth.
Well, okay, so you're saying if it is, you're accusing me of saying striving for something that is not the status quo. And on the other hand, you are complaining, you're the one complaining, it's great. And maybe you want to sit on your hand and do nothing about it. And so even okay, so why are you accusing me of the not talking about reality? I mean, you're just contradicting yourself.
So sorry, I apologise. I was misunderstood you then. I thought that you were actually saying that the current system that we have is the right system. But
No, I didn't say that. What are you talking about?
well,
I think it is not also Roger also saying that the current system is not the pure free market capitalism. It's far away from it, and we need more free market capitalism system, and that's the way we need to strive. So what are you talking about?
Like, you get my question though, like, what I'm saying is, you take away these benefits, like in the scenario you gave, and then what, because all I can see is some of those workers will rise above, some of them will not. And they're not going to be able to pay their bills, they're not going to be able to, like, have to do basic things that would enable Walmart to continue to function. Like, I think Walmart should just fucking go out of business if we did that.
So Dwight, here's a thought, right? Because I think what you're doing is you're thinking about the world that we have, the system that we have in place, where we've decided to coddle people, we've decided to provide these safety nets. If the government got out of the way, what would happen? Imagine less regulation, less costs to the business, right? Imagine no corporate taxes, right? Imagine that, right? The company would be free to do what they want with that money. Probably would invest in learning how to be more efficient. They might, depending on the company. If it's Walmart, Walmart's wildly innovative. What I mean by that is in the early going, the way that they were able to beat the competition, Walmart didn't start as the biggest company. Sam Walton decided, from a small store, that if he was going to expand, he was going to have to be more efficient than others. And the two great innovative things that they did were both related to inventory management. And so the first thing he did was say, I don't want to have a huge warehouse with a bunch of goods that sit around not being sold, that he has to pay for real estate to house products that are not being sold. The old model used to be, okay, if we just, we have the distributor bring the products, we keep them in our warehouse, and then once they're off the shelf, we can go and we can get them. Walmart didn't necessarily invent it, but they certainly perfected the idea of just-in-time delivery. And the way that they did that is they pressured their vendors. They have there's a Walmart top 50. That's their top 50 vendors. As you can imagine, it would be like people that sell batteries and people that sell companies that sell batteries or razors or just those commodity items that fly off the shelf of any store, right? And what they do is they went to their top 50 suppliers and they said, we need you we're going to monitor the delivery of these items, and we need you to accommodate based on the need that we have, not the old way where you just place an order and every month they bring the same amount regardless of the intelligence that you have on how fast or how slow things are flying off the shelves. So the just-in-time delivery helped them gain an advantage because they could then make a larger store that had more inventory that was on the shelf for consumers to buy, where other stores were dedicating half of the store, or at least a third of the store, to a warehouse for items that weren't being sold. The second thing they did, the enhancement, didn't come from them. It came from a technology company that said, hey, barcodes are old and inefficient, and think about, is there anything you want to mention?
No, sorry.
No, okay. So barcodes are old and outdated, and they're slow, and it causes a lot of labor concerns. So the old way of doing things with barcodes was a truck would drive in, they'd have pallets of shit, you'd unload the pallet, you'd then unload the boxes, then you would open the boxes, you'd pull out every product individually, and you would scan the barcode to scan this inventory and how to be more efficient. What companies evolved to was a thing called RFID, which is radio frequency identification. In the beginning, it was super expensive, but Walmart knew right off the top, this is a game changer. They weren't the only one who recognized that. The Department of Defense also recognizes. And so the projection was, in order for it to be affordable, that RFID was going to take like 10 years to really get phased in because they needed to get the cost down. They needed to get adoption. Well, the Department of Defense and Walmart decided, well, we can help accelerate that. And this company said, well, how so? They said, well, we will make our top suppliers a requirement that they use RFID. And what Walmart did is they went to those top 50 suppliers and they said, moving forward, in order to remain a top 50 supplier, you have to move from barcodes to RFID. What this changed is the staffing levels at a Walmart. So when the truck comes to delivery, and they've already figured out the just-in-time delivery, right? When the truck comes, it rolls by a post that picks up the frequency. when that truck drives by this into the warehouse, it automatically scans every single individual item in the inventory in one fucking fell swoop. You don't need somebody to open each box to scan each one of them. That was slow. So the time that they saved by doing that was massive. They passed the cost off to their suppliers to fix this problem for them. Point being, companies innovate, and the innovations that Walmart did is extremely important to understand, because that allowed them, by being more efficient, they can then cut some labor. They're more efficient. They're faster. They got more product on the shelf. Then what they can do is they can lower the price, where consumers can then pay less money, which is what consumers like about Walmart. If you ask Walmart shoppers what they like, they're going to say it's a wide variety of products at a cheap price. That's what they're going to say they like. When you start tinkering with Walmart and saying you must pay for this, you must pay for that, you're going to take away their competitive advantages. And the one thing that's sure to happen is they're going to reduce labor costs even further, which means that they'll innovate further and they'll replace human beings with robots. So you're not going to help those employees. You're actually going to have them not having an option to work at Walmart. And then the other thing that's going to happen is they're inevitably going to have to raise prices on their goods and services. And that means that the shoppers, the one thing that they loved about Walmart, they're not gonna have that anymore. And so you just have to be careful of what you're asking for. You have to think about the problem that you're trying to solve, and then you have to ask yourself, if implemented, does it solve it? And the question that you said, well, what about these people, that don't have money for food? If you will take your hand off the scale of the market and you will let them just innovate, they do that. And when they do that, they bring better products to market, they increase their efficiency, which lowers the prices for people, so then you need less money to be able to operate in this world. And so there's so many benefits of this, and the main benefit of free market capitalism, it's not even to the producer, it's to the consumer. Because if you make things less efficient, you're talking about higher prices. If you want to help the consumer, you need to allow companies to be more efficient, and you need to let them put their money into R&D and process improvement.
Right, exactly. On that point, when the productivity is increased, and then the price for what you call quote unquote necessity decrease, and hopefully with the AI revolution, we'll try to drive the price of necessity to zero. So all that worry that we have no jobs and buy the things for, well, it's just solved by itself, because the product increases to an extent that all the necessity included, the prices will go down to zero, the cost to zero. Then you don't need the reason for universal basic income. Then we heard all the reasons for basic incomes, because when AI comes, that all the know how we going to pay for things. Well, precisely because of AI, the cost of things will go to zero.
It's my opinion that it's absolutely ridiculous to think that AI and robotics is going to solve our borrowing and spending problem or our economic situation. If you think that robots are going to get intelligent enough to start making more robots by themselves and create a perpetual economic system or a business, go buy a slice of pizza tonight and have a beer on me, because That type of utopian thinking is ridiculous.
And the question is, what about these people?
Using to counter my argument, and if not, then I completely agree with you.
I just thought that this is AI and robotics to increase their profit, which they can't do if what you're saying is, well, products and services will be zero cost. That can't.
That's true.
Sorry, I had a call, but if this is going a different direction, let me know. But what I was gonna ask Roger or Mojo, that all makes sense. The next thing that comes to mind though is in this scenario where the prices increase, also what the worker is being paid is more. So I'm more. To me, it's that sounds better to me, and the reason why is because I'd rather have more capital at my disposal, and maybe the cost of some of these goods that we've enjoyed up to this point is great, but that cost goes up, and I have to choose better as a consumer, which I think we have the leeway to do. I think we have so much choice and so many options that a lot of it is kind of like just not very valuable anyway. I don't necessarily see where the prices, increasing to an extent is necessarily bad if, everybody has more money. And because in that case, I now have more freedom as somebody who commands more capital, even as, a lower level worker, to make the decision on whether or not I want to buy something, as opposed to having to hope that I have enough money with, that I get paid enough to buy anything at all.
Hold on. Let me answer real quick, and I'll kick it over to you because I do want to hear your take on this. But if you had a magic wand, Dwight, and you could do one thing, if you had to choose one of two things, you could choose that your wage goes up, or you could choose that your knowledge, skills, and ability were increased. If you had that magic wand, you had a press button, which one are you gonna press?
For me as an individual, definitely knowledge, skills, and ability.
Correct. And anybody that's wise would do that. And then so the question is always asked, what can we do to institute a policy where we put pressure on an employer, where they have to pay more money, and the government has. This is why the government, you shouldn't ask them to do that, because if the people are asking them and the government says, oh, okay, yeah, we'll do that, because it can buy votes, they can make that happen. But if you artificially increase the wage, you're harming the company that has to pay them, because you artificially you force them to pay a higher labor cost. So you're harming them, and you're taking from their pool that they could have spent money, in innovation and process improvement, and ultimately becoming more efficient to be able to lower the cost of goods to consumers. You're creating that problem, and you're never solving and addressing the skills problem. And I'm simply saying that a better ask of, and maybe not of government, because I'm in the handsome camp of, I want the government to do very little, but if you're looking for a solution to society's problems, it would be, and I would argue, a free market solution to this, where we put a huge emphasis on how do we get a maximum amount of people to obtain skills that are desirable, that produce value, that will help them make more money than working at Walmart. I think the focus on telling people that work at Walmart or McDonald's that they need to get more money, yes, I get it that somebody's got to work there. I think McDonald's can absolutely be run between AI, robotics, teens that are getting their first job and retirees that want to supplement their income. I do not believe that McDonald's is the type of place where it makes sense for people, let's say, after the age of 25 to work, or under the age of 60 to work. I think what we should reserve those types of jobs for are people that truly either they're just looking for an initial break or they're looking to wind things down at the end. But some people see those as career options, and they think that, well, it could be a viable career if only they got paid more. And the problem with that is that there's this value that people on the left have where what they're suggesting is that pay should be tied to the amount of time that people spend working. And there is a much better way of measuring this, and it should be your pay should be tied to the value that you produce. And I think that's the underlying issue there. And if you obtain more knowledge, skills, and ability, you'd be able to produce more value. And I think that trying to take a shortcut is avoiding the real issue, which is we absolutely need to up-level our skill.
Yeah, definitely. And the price is also a relative quantity is a ratio. So whether you lower the price or up your income, the salary is the same thing. And but also what you're talking about is actually somebody was here on the stage mentioning that it's a socialism calculation problem. So government is a blunt, very, very blunt instrument, and it doesn't have the capacity, it doesn't have the observation, data collection, and computational capacity to compute the price needed and the feedback mechanism of the social interaction. And if you look up socialism calculation problem, that's why the central planning doesn't work. And all this interaction between the boss and you and your colleagues, your customers and different customers, this whole interaction, this whole universe of interaction cannot possibly be computed by a central planning agency. So they don't have not only they don't have the capacity, they don't have the IQ, they don't have the computational power, they don't have the incentive to do these computation, and not only they don't have the incentive to do this computation for you, they have their own agenda. If you ask them to deal with your problem, they have to be paid to do so. However, the slogan they slap on themselves to be the public servants, they are trying to make money just as you do. And with the power now putting in their heads, they can only do evil things, whether intentional or not or unintentional. And so, and then you can look up the rent-seeking behavior of government, the agency problems, all the stupid economic problems that comes with it. And then also I want to address the previous question, how to deal with the people basic needs. I think I've already addressed that with the productivity increase. You don't need to worry about the necessity that these kind of things will decrease. But also, more directly, we just mentioned that Walmart is asking or helping the employees to fill out the benefit forms and all that. And I said, I commend them to do that, yes. But the thing is, it also reflects the other side of it, is that when you put up, give the dole out the benefit, of course everybody will take advantage of it. They're legal to do so, including corporation. So if you take that away, that Walmart have to pay more to the employees, and it cannot get the free ride. And so basically, Walmart is asking, well, not asking, but the government is handing Walmart the opportunity to get a free ride on other taxpayer, and this is like a very evil design. So yeah, that's the answer.
Understood. I get what you're saying. Like basically, that the forces of the market would force Walmart to pay their employees more, or basically like go out of business, thus eliminating the need for SNAP benefits. Am I following you?
Yeah, from this is one aspect of it. Yes, but the general the bigger picture is that with the government out of the hands, out of people's the pens, the people will be better off in all accounts. But I do recommend that you look up whether Wikipedia or somewhere else, the socialism calculation problem.
Talking about the economic calculation problem?
Is it called economic calculation problem? Let me check it.
Yeah, because it's basically like you can't price.
Yes, there's the knowledge problem, and then there's the economic calculation problem, which go hand in hand. If you want to learn more about it, you can look into Ludwig von Mises, who originally came up with this, and then you can also look into Friedrich Hayek that expanded on it. And if you're not interested in looking up either of those things because economics isn't your thing, I would point you to a different book called Economics in One Lesson by Henry Hazlitt. If anybody is interested, just back channel me. I can send you a copy of that. I have a garage full of those.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it is called the economic calculation problem. And yeah, and then the yeah, but I want to mention, well, I guess it basically is in refutation of Marxist economic system.
If that happens, so cause I'm just thinking like I can't help like cause I get what you're saying, like it makes perfect sense, like it truly does. I just can't help but feel like if I'm Walmart in that situation, I would still try to avoid paying more even if I had that market pressure. So maybe I try to figure out a way to outsource the work. Like you get what I'm saying? Like
I agree. I get what you're saying. If you're a boss, if you're a company, like I said earlier, it's two companies dealing with each other. You, maybe you're a company of one, right? Dealing with each other. Of course, you want to get the best deal for yourself, right? I mean, that's how the negotiation works. And this is how you want to make the most profit out of your the deal, right? So there's nothing wrong with that. And so the question that you want to, just like also Kojo was talking about it, he gets the best deal or the lowest price, and then it passes on the price benefit to the consumer, right? So you as an employee, you go, or Walmart is not the only employer, right? If Walmart doesn't employ you, they give you good enough benefit, good enough salary, you go to the next one, right? Costco, and whatever other price, all the so many retailers, and also there's somebody. You don't have to be a salesperson. You don't have to be a. If you go to pick up some skills, you can be a programmer. Go for it. Go work for Google, or go to computer school or something and be a chef.
That's the thing, like, well, hold on. I want to make sure we're touching grass here. Even though I'm on in Hanson's camp, I think like advising people to go work for Google. I know the hiring folks at Google in many departments, and if you don't have a 4-year degree,
I know. I'm just saying that Walmart is not the only.
I accept that. I just wanted to clarify that Google of all places, even if you have a 4-year degree, they're the one company that looks at your GPA. They're another company that'll look at which 4-year institution you went to. They're extremely picky, and the reason they can be is because everybody wants to work at Google, that they can sort the best and brightest. The only people that I've ever known that have gotten jobs there that didn't have a degree were people that worked in a startup that got acquired by Google. So I'm just saying that if we're going to give the advice of what you can do, I would make more realistic recommendations of things that that's within the grasp of people to do that maybe don't have a degree or maybe tech's not their thing. But your point is well accepted.
In fact, Costco. It's not.
Costco's a great employer. And then on top of that, you have companies, that are hiring in industries where they do have trade unions. Like if you go to a trade school, become an electrician, become a plumber, that's a very viable thing. In fact, I would say for anybody who's got kids that are thinking about going to college soon, I would say that at this point in time, unless they're looking to be an engineer, a doctor, or a lawyer, they're probably better off going into a trade school than accruing debt at a college. Now, if they want to go to college just to learn, I would say you can take credits for free in many major universities. Actually, you don't get credit for it, but you can drop into the class and you could get the same education. You just don't get the certificates and the credential. But if all you want to do is learn, you can go to many of the best universities.
Can I ask one last question, and then I'm gonna actually focus on that video. So, in that scenario, we've eliminated welfare, and now the companies should have to pay workers more. It would seem to me that although I can work for another company, all of the larger corporations still have all the leverage there. They're still going to pay as little as they can. So me as the worker, I'm not only at a disadvantage in terms of like it's me versus this larger entity, but I'm also less organized because I'm one person and Walmart has a whole network of people. So like how would that actually benefit the worker or the the general person more so in the way that you're describing? Like how would they not just basically control the market themselves and utilize their leverage to keep wages low or even lower?
First of all, because of free market, you have like you mentioned, the Walmart is not the only retailer or grocery store. Costco is one, and then I think and then what's the other one? Sam's Club or Aldi and whatever. What are the other grocery stores? I have to list all of them. Just Google it. So the market already provides the competitors, and then also therefore compete for your wages. And the other thing is you can up your skills and put yourself in a better negotiating positions. That's why I said if you can pick up your computer skills or plumbing, be a plumber or something, and choose a better market to compete in. And then also for there's nothing wrong to form a labor company. There's nothing wrong to form a union. I don't disagree that you can have a union and then you form a company. A union is nothing but a company. You can collectively bargain with your employer. And one thing I am against union, the present union is this union is the present status of union is above the law. It is not treated as a company, just like any other company. It is treated as an extra legal organization, like a mafia. And so the law, like many states, for example, Illinois, they call it union with extra legal privileges. And so you cannot fire a union member. You're basically this is it's a kind of a yeah. What can I say? What the extra legal organization. So it is not treated as just like another company. That's the problem. There's nothing wrong with forming a union if it is just another company. And then so basically you deal with you can form a company and then collectively it's like a labor company and bargain for your employee. You basically you can be a partner in the company, you can be an employee of the labor company and negotiating with the company who represent you and negotiate with another company and after you basically work for the company just like a consultant. I mean, there's so many forms that you can do this.
But check out these books. I definitely get the point to be made. I think I have enough things to some of these concepts over.
Yeah, and another book I would recommend is Milton Friedman's Freedom and Capital. Put the author and title in chat.
Yeah, for sure. I'm actually checking these down. I know most of this economics and one lesson. Some mentioned powernomics. I'm gonna check these out at least, to some extent. I'm not hugely into economics, but obviously I've got, some level of interest in it. I'm just trying to have these conversations to kind of wrap my head around, because obviously I see things a certain way, but I'm not one of these people that it's like, oh yeah, I've decided on what I've decided and that's what I'm sticking with, whether it's logical or not. It's like, all I really care about is what's actually best, what actually makes the most sense. I'm not married to anything, so this is all around this is the combo.
Yeah, great stuff. It's a great conversation.
Thing on that, when you're thinking about all this, you go through all the economics and all these other things, but Roger touched on it really good earlier. There's a book, Thinking in Systems. It's a book by Danella Meadows. I don't know if I'm saying her name right or not. But a lot of people just want to break it down one piece, one sector, one kind of topic, and yeah, you can do that to try and parse out what that one thing is doing, but you can't forget about all the other things interacting with it at the same time. So that's a good book for anyone to listen to. If you're listening to it once every other year or so, just because everything is a system and works together that way, and it is not fully independent. So you you move one lever, you're gonna adjust something else that you're undesired or desired outcomes. So that's the problem everybody has. They think, oh, well, egg workers should be paid more, but then you pay egg workers more, then the farmer, it costs them more to produce something, so they either A, go out of business, or B, charge more. Well, then the food costs more, or we're at the mercy of some other country or some major company that now has pretty much a monopoly on the production of that said item. It's the same for any industry. Once you get monopolized, then you can say, well, you can't get it from anywhere else, so I can raise my prices now, and now you don't have enough competition to, moderate the prices. That's what it all comes back down to. We can say everybody needs to be paid more, or we just realize what it takes to live. And we know everybody isn't going to be able to be a CEO, but everybody is able to better themselves in their situation, even if it does take time and they have extra hurdles.
What was the Mises one that you said, Mojo? MISES, right? I'm familiar.
What's your question?
Yeah, you said a book by Ludwig von Mises.
He's written a lot. He's got a book called Liberalism, which I highly recommend everybody read. The one that you're going to want to look into more than anything is his critique on socialism. In fact, here's what I'll do. I'll drop links in the chat to the order in which I would read his books. I think that there's some that are a little too dense. One of the problems with Mises is that he wrote for academics. He didn't care about. He wasn't writing for you and I to read it. He was writing for academics to take his ideas and expand on it. But one of such academics, one of his pupils, Friedrich Hayek, wrote books to be far more accessible to people. And so I'll put links to the books that I would read in order if you want to get an understanding. But I would say if you've never studied economics and you're just curious, my starting point always is with Henry Hazlitt, Economics in One Lesson, because anybody can pick it up, anybody can read it, anybody can understand it.
Yeah, I got that one written down. I actually wrote down these books.
Yeah, I'll put links in there right now.
Sorry, appreciate it.
Well, by the way, the agreements freedom and capitalism, I believe you can find it, just Google online and get a free PDF copy.
I pirate shit sometimes, so if all else fails, like I'll pay for shit on my phone. I'm like bored, so I buy shit. If it's anything, if I have trouble finding it, like, well, if you're not gonna make it accessible to me, so I'll just steal it. But that's just me.
Not literal things, copyright shit.
No, I know.
Yeah.
versus people that are younger than me. So like I'm learning nothing. But I feel like at least in like maybe a few off case, not Mark, because that's he's fucking retarded. But at least with y'all, that's even different. But
Yo, Dwight, just look at Argentina. Just look at Argentina and what Javier Milei has done there by restricting government spending. He has enticed investors to want to come in, and that has caused an economic boom and more jobs and more income for the people, and more housing inventory, lower rates. The whole economy becomes more efficient, and it raises all ships that were sunk. So, unless something is done in this country, I mean, it's just immoral and unethical and not intelligent in terms of central planning that we're doing. And in fact, we shouldn't be doing central planning. That's what makes it so unintelligent, is we don't let the market efficiencies take place to essentially create more productivity and more growth. Do you understand how less is more in terms of government intervention?
oh yeah, I definitely follow the argument. Now whether I agree on every point or grasp some of the ideas presented, that's something I'll have to look into. But no, I definitely I'm familiar with the argument, and I would say that I agree to an extent. I think that's a small story. I kind of have a question because I noticed you have the Trump hat and the well, I don't know if this is PTR, but do y'all feel like we have a U.S. party that is committed? I mean, I don't see that Republicans or Democrats.
No, the answer is no.
Yeah, like they're both growing the government, and Republicans like allege that they don't want that, but then they do that. I don't know.
Oh, before I think serendipity would link to the freedom to choose. So you can just click on the link. And also, there's a YouTube channel, Free to Choose Network. It has collected all the, maybe not all, many of the freedom debates on the channel.
There's an essay you guys can look up. It's a quick read by Friedrich Hayek. I just put two of the books that I would recommend that you read of his. But there's an essay where he writes about why he's not a conservative. So for those of you that identify as conservative, or let's say you don't, here's somebody that was a free market zealot, and a lot of times conservatives claim to be free market capitalists, and it's a great essay by Hayek himself to explain why he's not a conservative.
Hey, Raj.
Talk to me, Goose.
Goose. I never got into politics. And since I came to your roster, and then I came to your little clubhouse, it was interesting. What would you say? Why would you think someone leans very conservative and then why would you think someone leans very liberal?
I guess it depends on the context. If we're thinking about these terms and how they were created and what they were supposed to mean, liberals were influenced by Enlightenment thinking. maybe the connector of liberalism and conservatism, and the bridge to conservatism would be Edmund Burke. The way that I like to think of it is in the U.S. context is that radical liberals gave us this country. They said to hell with these oppressive tyrants that want to rule over us, and they fought for freedom, wrote their own constitution, inserted a Bill of Rights, and then conservatives are kind of like these Johnny-come-latelys that they wait for the radicals to do the hard work, come up with the ideas, and then whatever worked and whatever sticks, they say, well, tradition is important too. Maybe we can find some traditions that work well, and whether those traditions come from politics or religion or economics or wherever they might come from, science, doesn't matter. Conservatives, the whole idea is to find those things that we want to keep as traditions. But I think the two need each other. I think liberals need to push the envelope on coming up with new ideas on how to expand human freedom, because that individual freedom is a liberal idea. Conservatives took on the idea that they were going to protect it, quote unquote. And I think the enemy to both of them are these progressives, ones that believe that collective rights.
Okay, I want to say for a second, so, that's interesting, because when you started with the liberals and how they were able to create innovation and fight for something worthy of fighting for, it sounds very patriotic, but in the past couple of years that I've been paying attention more to politics, to me it seemed like liberals, you got the LGBT community, all the identity politics and all these things, and just freedom of speech, freedom of feel collide. This is where it gets a little confusing.
I think to make clarity here, liberals want you to have individual freedom, and so on. To some extent, they would say, hey, if somebody wants to claim that they're a woman when they are a man, let them do it. The difference is a progressive will use the government, weaponize it, restrict your individual freedom by instituting the idea that you must address them, you must accept their delusional claims of being a man or being a woman, and declaring that by fiat. And so, what the difference between progressives and liberals, the important distinction, there's two important distinctions. One is that the progressives are for collective rights, whereas liberals are for individual rights, at least in the classical sense of liberalism. The other is
that makes sense, Antonio, because that reminds me of Bill Long, right? He would be a liberal, right? In the concept what you're talking about, it sounds like he would be a liberal, right?
correct.
Right, I get it. Okay. Yeah.
If you want an example on this app of a liberal, El Normo is classically liberal as you're going to find on this app.
Right. Yeah. Instead of impeding the progressives are impeding their view of the world in a way where they want to change laws and all this. Yeah, I got this.
They've also become the Puritans. It used to be the conservatives would say, hey, based on tradition, we believe this to be right, and this is where you hear about things like traditional family values, Christian values, whatever it might be, where the conservatives would say, look, you ought to do this because, and then they tell you why they're so smart. Well, the progressives do the same thing, but what they've done is they've decided that everything's for the collective. It's always for a group. And the policies are always extremely divisive, because whereas individual rights would say that everybody should have the same equal protection under the law, the progressives are going to say, oh, well, this group over here has been fucked over for so long, so what we need to do is pass a law that gives special favor, not equal rights. They want unequal rights. And this is why I genuinely feel that if people had honest conversations, we could divide this thing into a few very, very specific camps, where you have the authoritative which is where you would find someone like myself. You would find someone like Hansen. Then you have the libertarian left, which is the libertarian left is more liberty leaning, and that's where you would find some remnants of those classical liberals, like someone like an El Normo. And then you have the authoritarian left, which is the progressives, and those are the people like the Bernie Sanders and the AOCs and that sort of thing. And I think that if we can more clearly divide the parties along those lines, if we had four parties where you could have, your authoritarian left, your libertarian left, your libertarian right, and your authoritarian right, I think that would be a better way to draw up the battle lines than to put the libertarian and authoritarian right together, because the authoritarians are always going to seek more power for government, and it's really an uphill battle for the more libertarians on the left or the right. By the way, I can find common ground with libertarian lefties. I definitely nitpick the shit out of some of their ideas, but it's just that it's nitpicking. And the authoritarian right, they might say a lot of the things that align with some of my thought, but what they're willing to do to institute their ideas would be completely unacceptable to me. And then the authoritarian left, their ideas are shit, and they're willing to put you up against the wall to get their ideas through. So if I were ranking these in order, I would say libertarian right, that's at the top of the heap. Libertarian left, that would be the next rung, and then authoritarian right would be second to last, and then or the authoritarian left, that is at the bottom. That's how I would rank those, and that's coming from my personal viewpoints, but that would be also in consistency with my values, which is I value liberty over all else. So if that's true for you too, then you might see it similarly.
Yeah. Roger, one of these days I'm going to buy you a Greek Roman statue of Libertas. Send it to you. Just so you can constantly think of it as a part of the nation of liberty.
Well, I definitely agree on and rule of law.
So what do you think of the? Can you even see the poll question at the top? Or have you not updated the app? So if you haven't updated the app, go update the app, and we've got a poll question for you.
Me too. I'll see it.
You guys got to update.
So,
I too hard on that guy earlier. It really got me going, but
Marshall, I don't think you've ever been too hard on people. If there's one thing that you might be guilty of on this app, aside from being a great guy, is maybe being too soft on people.
well, thank you, appreciate that.
so what is the difference between liberty and justice?
Well, liberty is the. I will give you the Stuart Mill definition that you should be free to do what you want to do, provided that you're not harming other people. So your liberty does not give you the right to violate somebody else's liberty. Justice is simply ensuring that people's individual liberty is protected. So they definitely go hand in hand. I would mark them as 1A and 1B. Equality, I typically just throw out the window because I don't believe that we're equal. I think that we have different knowledge, we have different skills, we have different abilities. We're all very different. And so I think equality is a myth. There's a great book out there called Equal is Unfair. It's written by an objectivist, so you got to take it a little bit with a grain of salt. But I think he makes a very good point that the things that you would have to do to make people equal would be a violation of people's liberty. And if you did that, that wouldn't be very just. And so for me, it goes liberty, justice, and equality is not even a consideration for me.
Mojo, well, what I see, I think liberty, right? But I also see that because human beings tend to live inside of this container of right and wrong, right, duality, polarity, and in general, men tend to be more, they'll project their power, right, more than females, or you could say it's a different type of power that men have. They will make someone wrong, even if it's in I'm not saying that, well, they may do something physical, but they'll condemn, they'll condemn. In a libertarian, let's say in a libertarian environment, there's going to be some disagreements, isn't there?
Yeah, you can have agreements, but I think first and foremost, you have to. I think if you're going to have a conversation.
I said disagreements. Sorry, there'll be agreements.
Yeah, of course you're going to have disagreements, but ultimately the disagreement has to come. The thing that you must agree on is that you can't harm others, and then so the only task there is going to be defining what harm is. And when you have disagreements about that, you will need a judge. This is why anarchy is so stupid. You do need somebody that can adjudicate disputes. And so if you and I, believe that individual freedom is good, and that we define it on you should be free to do what you want to do, provided you don't harm other people. When we get into that definition of what is harm, you and I might have different ideas, and we're going to need to have a system for figuring out what equates to harm. And I think there's some tough questions. Like, for example, if you want to get a popular issue, you could say, well, what about abortion? One person could argue, well, if you get an abortion, you're harming the baby. You are literally killing a human being. And the other side might say, well, if you restrict me from ejecting this unwanted fetus from my body, you're restricting my individual liberty to bodily autonomy. And I think both of those arguments are interesting and valid. Then the question comes down to, well, what's a greater harm? And I think if you're talking about discomfiture versus murder, I mean, that's what guides me into the camp that I'm in. But it's not that I don't see the argument for bodily autonomy, which is why I like what Walter Block has to say about this. He's an evictionist, where once technology can get us to the place where we can reduce the age of viability to a very, very short term, what will happen is you make abortion a moot point by allowing the person that wants the bodily autonomy to evict the fetus from their body. Okay, it's your body, your choice. You can evict the body, but you cannot kill it, because that would be immoral. And so, if technology guides the way here, I think evictionism is going to be a good.
What do you mean evictionism?
Yeah, it quite literally means that you can evict the baby, but you can't murder it. And then when you remove the baby from the woman, you would then put it in an artificial womb. And so the technology that's necessary is advancements on artificial womb technology that can reduce the age of viability. So
It'll never work on that.
Well, you can continue to say that, but we're getting better and better at it every day.
No, because the reason why is, first of all, it's a woman, right? And the husband or boyfriend, right, will woman wouldn't want it to go to any person. We would have to prove. There's all those complications.
Well, but the complication is less when you have technology.
Well,
So-
I understand what I'm saying, but really, look, when you think about a human being is layered, has many layers to it. Every individual has many, many, many layers, and the biggest thing is what we all know, and it's fear. And so people are pretending all throughout the day and all throughout the night, and they're just walking through life in this fashion. So ultimately, when that pretense is, the layers are taken off, I got a question for you, Mojo. What's underneath all the pretense?
Which pretense are you referring to?
Nothing, Mojo, nothing.
I mean, I can give you my.
I'm not asking you to tell me your pretenses, but would you agree that all human beings have layers of pretense?
Well, of course. And the question is, who's got the good ideas, and who's good at selling their ideas. And I think that the political ideas that I subscribe to are good ideas. I just don't think that we have anybody that's really good at selling them, and that's why I'm here. But sometimes I just prefer to be performative and I don't know, like be over the top and thought provoking. For example, a typical conversation with me about abortion, I would just I would refer to abortion as baby murder rather than abortion, and I would refer to the doctor and the mother as murderers, and I would then I would then make an emotional plea to mothers to love their baby instead of killing their baby. And this typically gets people that are in the quote-unquote pro-choice camp really agitated, which I like because I think they're hypocrites. If they really cared about choice, they would talk about the choices that happen before a woman gets pregnant. You can choose to abstain. You can choose to use birth control. You could choose to put a child up for adoption should you get pregnant. You have all kinds of choices, but they don't really seem to be advocating for all those other choices. What they seem to be advocating for is the right to kill their baby.
But Mojo, the reason why I went to human beings, right, and their pretenses is, you talked about, you have good ideas, right? You're intelligent enough to know enough about the landscape of politics and human beings to have ideas. Now, I like this quote. I'm sure you heard it. Plenty of other people have heard it about Einstein's quote that problems cannot be solved with the same level of consciousness that created them. Right? You know that quote, right?
It's a great quote.
Right. So basically, what it was saying is, if you want a new world, you have to change the way you think and the way what you believe in. You have to change it. You have to change who you are. So that's why I talked about the pretenses, man. People just to say to someone, well, you're pretending, they're going to get defensive. So just to acknowledge that you're pretending, that all of us are pretending, that's just a whole war right there. Right? Yeah, fresh ideas is what we want, but first we have to deal with the pretense. I'm sorry. How do we, I have my ideas, right? But how do we approach, we start in America, we start in our own household, right? We start in our own household. You start with yourself, right? But in a big way, you have a leader that wants people to take off the masks and let's rise to a new level of consciousness. And what would that new level of consciousness be? Can you articulate? You follow me?
I do. The part that I like the best is starting with ourselves. So, like tying it back to the previous conversation, I could start by vowing not to kill any babies. I could then vow to influence friends and family to not kill their babies, and then hopefully they would influence their friends and family to not kill babies.
Right, but then remember, so this is where I was talking about in that libertarian environment, right? You don't harm anyone. Well, what about that guy that came to me the other day, right? And he said, Mojo, well, I didn't think that it was very nice the way you were talking. So you were talking about harm, right? So you see what I'm saying? Everybody has different beliefs of what harm is. So it gets extremely complicated.
Well, this is true, and you can't look. Some people are just pussies, if we're going to be honest. You have some people that have decided to say that words are harmful, and in fact, they will even tell you that words are violence, right? And I think that the people that say words are violence are actually leading to an increase in physical violence, because if words are violence, then physical violence and words are the same thing. So why should I stop at words? Why shouldn't I just be physically violent? And so I think that the lack of common sense in these issues is what really is the problem. There's some people that will get a slogan like that, like words are violence, and they'll say it without really thinking about what the consequences of saying that is.
Well, but Roger, that's when you would have someone that wants to take on that leadership role, right? That would argue a point. How are words of violence? I would say that words are not violence. I would say fear of what words can get you is what you're talking about. Fear of what a word might have, something that might happen in the future. But that's not, the word itself is not violence.
So, time out. Well, who do you think is supposed to lead us out of this? Do you think it's going to be born on Clubhouse?
Well, if you go back to the way I see it, human beings live in a very barbaric environment, right? Very different than what we live in America. You might say similar to someplace like Iran, but even worse than these kind of authoritarian countries where they'll kill anybody that goes against the government, all these kind of things, they'll murder the family, all these kind of things.
Well, it will take something pretty bad to be worse than what the IRGC is doing in Iran. In Iran, they allow people to marry girls at the age of 8 years and 9 months, partially because they have a fundamentalist attachment to a death cult called Islam, where they worship a pedophile cult leader.
Right, well, what I'm saying is, let's go back.
Can you just let that one breathe for a minute, Timok? I want the waves to to crash in on the people in the coup, and then that way, if we've got anybody that's a member of the death cult, they could go, wait a minute, did he just call Prophet Muhammad a pedophile? And then I could say, yeah, I did. He's a fucking pedophile. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. So just think about it. Just you and I put yourself in and create history. Let's say you're playing character. So let's say you're playing a character from the past, right? Thousands of years ago. So you have to put yourself in that world. And so I did, like, the last role I played was on a TV show called Double Cross. I played a psychopathic sex trafficking kingpin. And I said to myself, okay, let me talk to a psychologist. So I really want to put myself in the role. So in this case, talking about the different worlds that have existed I go back to thousands and thousands of years ago. Like, for example, mine's. Did you ever see that movie Apocalypto? I loved it. Mel Gibson.
Yes, it is absolutely fantastic. Their set design for the obsidian knives gets them archaeologically correct.
Did you see it, Mojo?
Apocalypto, yeah, very good.
Right. So just imagine an environment right now where they're just taking over your whole neighborhood, taking you and killing your family in front of you, and then taking you to the top of a structure and cutting your heart up, and you're next in line. That's a whole different reality. So the reason why I alluded to all this is because in those times, there has been intelligence out of this suffering that, you know, I'm not very religious, but I have had spiritual moments, supernatural moments, where a higher intelligence came to me. So, you could say the yogi.
Were you on GMT?
No, I wasn't. I was straight. I don't take drugs. So, what I'm getting at is these. For example, the first yogi, which I told you about, the first yogi. It's gonna, times call for a different state of consciousness. Well, those times back then, it called for a higher state of consciousness. The Egyptians, right? The Mayans. So there's the Kundalini exercise, right? This is not a very common thing. I don't know how many people in this room have done any of the breath work, Kundalini, right? Because trauma is held in the first three chakras, right? The perineum, right below the navel, and then below the sternum. And these are all ways to pull these traumas out from the past, right? And open up your heart, and your mind thinks differently. So to have a libertarian environment, there has to be these kind of practices, is what I'm trying to say.
So we have to do yoga before we can turn to
Yeah,
libertarian?
they never did it, brother. It's an idea to you with yoga. Yoga to you is some kind of, silly movement, contorts. That's just physical. Yeah.
So I've tried meditation. I've downloaded apps. I've watched these YouTube videos and stuff. And maybe I'm just watching the wrong stuff, but they're like, hey, you got to sit this particular way. And I'll sit that way, and I'm like, dude, this is uncomfortable as shit. And then it's like, and then they want you to clear your mind of stuff. And I will say, because I did this for 10 days straight. I was actually on Clubhouse when I was doing this. I would do it before I'd get on. And the first couple days, I couldn't at all clear my mind of anything. And then you get this moment where it's like a split second, like a blink. It's like you recognize that you blinked, and then you're like, oh, there was this gap of not thinking about anything for just a fraction of a second. But then all of a sudden something else would pop in my mind, and then you have to deal with that. And so
my question is, was that experience for you? It was annoying, right?
It was frustrating in the sense that you can't truly clear your mind for any significant period of time.
Well, you can, but you couldn't.
Well, I couldn't. I certainly couldn't. And then when the ideas come into your head, it's almost like when you're telling yourself, okay, I'm going to think about nothing, and then it's like, fuck, chocolate, that sounds delicious. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like, the mind is a crazy place. The idea that you can, get so much control over it that you can rid it of thoughts, it's kind of scary.
Okay, yeah, I understand what you're talking about. So, it is a skill to be developed. The thing is, like Buddhism, yoga, whatever, it's the idea is to become aware. Because as soon as you become aware, right, of those thoughts, we are people, we are a species that thinks. We think things. usually has an electrical charge to it. Every thought has an electrical charge. So your thoughts are creating things, right? So the fact that people don't take this seriously, I mean, it's going to change in the next 10 years. This thing's going to flip on a dime. And everybody's going to start paying attention, really doing it. Your thoughts are Bruce Lee, Alan Watts, that Bruce Lee, Chris Christian Bruce Lee followed Alan Watts. He's talked, lectures around the world, and many others. But when you become aware, you find out what you're thinking about more clearly, and then what happens there, right? Some people have done bad things, and they have to forgive themselves and they have to free themselves. If you haven't done any of this work, then you're walking around just with the mask on, and it's actually unhealthy because it signals the genes in a way that you don't want your genes to be signals. It doesn't make those beautiful proteins that cure you of cancer and everything else.
What does this have to do with the dead?
I'm gonna take up singing. That's what I do. I like to sing. Can you sing? Can you sing, Roger?
When I used to drink, I used to karaoke at a couple songs in the repertoire.
Which one? What songs do you sing?
I would do "Eye of the Tiger."
Yeah.
I would do "Welcome to the
You had to be
Jungle."
drunk though, right?
I had to be very drunk.
Yeah.
I could do some Waylon Jennings. Some Johnny Cash. But "Eye of the Tiger" was like one of my go-tos. There's another song that I like. I'll bring down the house with this song. I don't know if you've heard this song, "Alice." Who the fuck is Alice? It's a sing-along. You guys can go Google it, look it up. It's a great karaoke song.
Wow. I could see why Koreans have taken over the market, right? That's like a religion to them, doing karaoke. Going in there and just, I've done it a couple times.
So you know what the move is? If you go into like a crowded karaoke bar, there's a bunch of people. You walk over to the KJ, which is the karaoke jockey, and you would slip them a 20 and you say, "Here's my song. I want to go after somebody comes up here and is total dog shit. Do not pull me up. Don't pull me up after Luther Vandross's cousin gets done singing. I want, like, when somebody is just terrible, then you're gonna say,
I like it.
Then you're gonna say, "Hey, back from his European tour, please introduce," and then boom, and they give you a little intro. You slip him a 20, he does that, and then people are like, "European tour? Who the fuck is this guy?" And then you get up there, and like, you've got their attention, and the thing is you're gonna be better than the last person, and so that's what people remember.
I was visiting a friend in Italy, and he brought me and some friends up into a mountain in Italy, and it was a restaurant, not too big, a medium-sized restaurant, and just for the average folk, it was a nice villagey crowd, and they were doing karaoke, and the owner would set the songs and different people sang. So I sung the Frank Sinatra song. They liked it, and I was surprised because my father was a singer, but I never, it wasn't a thing that I really pursued. But I liked this song, so it was. They videotaped it, so one day I'll show.
Do you remember the song?
Yeah, let me try to remember because there's a few of them. Oh God, let me get it. I'll go find it.
Are you guys familiar with Chi-Chi? Chi-Chi's one of the dumbest people in the app. But Chi-Chi loves coming to this room, and we love Chi-Chi being here. Chi-Chi, how are you?
One of the most intelligent people on the app. Yeah, I just mad that I just did not give me my little hints of knowledge. That's why.
Have you ever seen The Usual Suspects?
The fuck is that? I don't watch TV.
It's a movie, and you remind me of the Benito del Toro character that can't speak.
Nigga, you just didn't understand what the fuck I'm saying. So clearly, I don't remind you of the most character.
One of the most famous lines that he has in that movie is he says, "Give me the keys, you cock, what the fuck."
Really, I really don't know what you're doing. I really don't know what you're you trying to play. It's really not what you're doing. I just think it's funny that y'all really think this thing is really, really hilarious. And this thing is not funny. It's not funny in any way.
Chichi, I think you're funny. Why don't you tell everybody a joke? Go ahead.
Listen, I don't tell jokes. I'm not a comedian. That's the difference between me and girls.
Do you think that's the biggest difference between you and me?
Well, I think the other biggest difference is that I'm actually good looking and you're not. So just that as well.
When you say actually good looking, are you saying that this avatar that I'm using, you think it's good looking, but that in real life I might not be as good looking as the avatar that I have?
No, I was not saying that. I was saying quite the opposite.
Are you just mad that I'm blacker than you?
You're more Jerusalem. That's what you is. Hey, stop it.
It was Love Be a Lady, Roger. It was Love Be a Lady.
Oh, it's a great song. Great song. Great song. Chichi, can I ask you a question?
I know you can.
Oh, okay. All right. I guess we'll go to the next person. Jason, can I ask you a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
How many cocks do you think Chi-Chi has sucked?
Oh, wow. It's a big number. I mean, he must. I suppose we should start by estimating his age, and then assume a reasonable number per year.
Hold on. I'm just fucking question.
100 per year.
Listen.
And then
Okay, wait, hold on. If that was a dumb question, let me see if I can get a better question in here. Chi-Chi, can I ask you a question?
You can't ask me shit, you.
Okay, all right. Well, then I guess I have to ask my questions of everybody else on the stage. Nye, I have a question for you.
I'm scared. I'm scared for the question. I'm breaking up. Yes, go ahead.
Do you think Chi-Chi spins or swallows?
Swallows, definitely.
Mm-hmm. Chi-Chi, your thoughts?
I think quite upset. That's what I think. Yeah, how much.
You know, it's definitely some mumble shit. I didn't even understand it.
Yeah,
He's got a cock in his mouth at the moment.
dude, he's like Mushmouth from Fat Albert mixed with being a trans. It's just, I just can't even wrap my head around this. Chi-Chi, where do you live?
Why is you so fucking furious that you have that in the
Bring back the free calls. Bring back those free calls, right?
Yeah, I saw your mother had a fucking freak off, bitch. But
Wait, my mother was at a freak off? Hold on. Let me ask. Mom! I'm gonna ask her. I'm gonna get her on the phone here. Hold on.
oh no.
I'm gonna ask her if she's ever been at a freak off. Where was this alleged freak off?
She knows exactly where it was. Like I said.
Where was it at?
She knows exactly where it was.
Did it involve men or women?
Well,
Who were you partaking with at this freak off that you saw her at? Were you going down on a man or a woman?
I was just participating in the extracurricular activity. I believe in. Where was that? Hey, come here.
Chichi, have you voted in the poll above?
No.
What do you think is more important, equality, justice, or liberty?
And this case will probably be justice.
None. They're all trash.
Oh, they're all trash. Got it.
Yeah, right.
So, Chichi, do you discriminate on the cocks that you suck, or are you into Asian cocks, Hispanics,
I'm,
cots,
I'm,
black.
I'm definitely a discriminator. Thank you.
So which cots do you prefer?
The one that is involved you. That's the one.
Small ones, big ones. Ones that
The ones that don't involve you.
Okay, got it. Thank God.
That's all. That's right.
Chichi, what rooms do you normally go into on this app?
Any room that I feel like it.
Are they typically the gay rooms?
Most of them are. You see, the difference between me and you is I got a car. You don't. I'm popping in real life. You know.
He said he had a car. What do you say, Mosey? Something about a car. I think he sucks dick in a car. He has a car. Okay. Yeah, a Tesla. What kind of car do you drive, Chi-Chi? Chi-Chi, you still with us?
He's coming to your house, right? He's coming to your house right now.
I don't like the poll because it never adds up to 100. It's always adding up to either 101 or 102%. It's not computing for me.
Yeah, and the last thing I'll say about this, I was talking about before, was the whole thing about new state of consciousness, new mind, you're in a new world, blah, 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 is starts with yourself, man. So you have to get to the unknown. You have to get to the unknown. Everything in the mind, right, is from where? It's from the past, right? So it's the past. Every time you think, you're thinking about something that you've learned already. So it's an old state of mind. It's projected into your future. So once to be present, you have to let go of all of that. That's the meditation.
I think future Congressman Kitover probably does meditation. John, do you do meditation?
The mayor of New York does over here. He does it with a phone.
What's going on over there? That's different. If you had to guess, what do you think Chi-Chi does for a living? Simon, I'm going to call on you. What do you think Chi-Chi does for a living? I need your prediction. Simon.
Yeah, I'm here.
What do you think he does for a living? Spit it out.
I think he's a taxi driver.
A taxi driver. Okay. All right. That's not a bad guess. Nye, what do you think he does?
Nothing. Just complain on Clubhouse, talk shit. But no, if I had to guess, he probably is a babysitter. He probably babysits children.
Simon, what do they call the crossing guard in the UK?
The crossing guard.
Yeah, the one that carries the stop sign and allows people.
Yes. What do they call that? Yeah.
Lollipop man.
Yeah, that's it.
The lollipop man.
Well, it's usually female, so it's a lollipop lady.
The lollipop lady. Okay, Chi-Chi can be a lollipop lady. I think
What's
that.
a bit suspicious is someone's got a PTI is completely blacked out. I always think, what does that mean? Yeah, it's a bit.
Can you tell everybody though on the stage that I'm not making this shit up that it's literally the crossing. Yeah, the crossing guard. You guys in the U.S.
We call it a zebra crossing, where it's for people to cross the road. The vehicles have to stop, and they're usually outside of schools. And it's a lady with a stick with a round thing on the top, which is why it's called the lollipop lady.
Yeah, so in the U.S. we have like these people at like school crossings. They'll come out and they'll have like a little a stick with the stop sign, and they'll walk out and they'll tell the traffic to stop so the kids can cross the street. But I think it's amazing that you refer to them as the lollipop lady.
Yeah, that's just because of the shape of the thing. I'll try and get a picture of it. Yeah, yes, but you're correct. You remember that better than I did. Lollipop lady. There we go.
There you go, lollipop lady. And Simon's PTR. Serendipity, did you know that? Oh, she's on a call.
How did you know that, Roger?
I have more useless knowledge in this brain of mine than you can imagine.
All right, I like that one.
You imagine a room with Astro and Chi-Chi and the other guys. Imagine all in one room. What would that be like?
Oh, Jesus. It would be called chillism.
What kind of cult would that be?
Have you ever been in the room, time out, called chillism?
I come in your room to have a laugh, to learn about politics. I like to learn about politics and these kind of things that you discuss where it gets a little boring, but I'm learning something. And I go to, sometimes there's the writing rooms, and that's about it. That's it. Not like the old days. And I'm getting better, so I'm going to be out more, so I won't be on Clubhouse much again. So it's a slow process when you're healing the nerves. So anyway.
When would you have the dates for the release at the AMC theaters?
Yeah, well, it releases October 19th for a week around the country, but there's going to be some other things happening as well with it. I'll know more in the upcoming week or two. I'll know more.
Okay, week of October 19th. Do you have any commitments to like go places like LA or somewhere like that for a premiere?
Yeah, I talked to my agent about that today, and he's calling corporate discussing it. So basically, it's just choosing cities. Obviously, we're gonna choose big cities, and then everything work out well. I'll let you know right away which cities we're going to first and all that kind of thing. Yeah. I had a really good idea. I think you guys would really like it. First, something came up from a fan sent a marching band that I'll send it to you. A marching band playing the glow song. Yeah, this is great. And what came to mind was, imagine in the parade, 50 show-nuffs, different colors, different LGBT showing up, everything. Imagine that. That'd be funny as hell.
Well, you know what I think is something that should be considered for this, and maybe even get like the super fans, and I'm happy to help in this regard, to encourage people not only to come out and see this, but to treat it the way they would if they were going to see Rocky Horror. And maybe what is necessary is to get local acting troops to dress up as the characters in the theater and act it out. Have you ever been to a theater showing of Rocky Horror?
Yeah, sure. And we've done some things like this, and that was one of the things. I was gonna tell people, look, have stuff, do the whole thing, but maybe a real pointed direction for them to make a real thing, and maybe that would inspire them to do it even more. Like you're talking about, like Rocky Horror Show. So that's a great.
Awesome. Can I just pause real quick and just say hi to the sexiest woman on the history of Clubhouse streets?
Oh, it's so sweet, Nyla.
Monica. Can I just share with people why I adore you so much? First of all, she's got the voice of an angel. Secondly, she's incredibly intelligent. She's feisty, and Monica is my favorite female on the app. And she absolutely loves the attention that I give her. No speech.
Like for real. I'm sorry, what were we talking about? We were singing your accolades. No, right before that, because you're so comfortable.
Can you guys look at her PTR? Power couple of the year. Did you vote yet? You did vote. That's amazing. Let's see. I think we're almost up to 1,000 members in this house. 971 members. Just gotta get a few more people.
Well deserved.
That's good for the post Clubhouse hurrah.
No, it's excellent. Dolly, you have to do the newest update. They launched it yesterday. Unfortunately, with the cool poll tool, they also have you being able to eavesdrop in the hallway to different rooms, which is meh to me. But the poll is excellent.
Yeah, the poll right now, it's got 58 votes, and the question is, what is more important, equality, justice, or liberty? Right now, liberty is winning. Thank God. Monica, how was your day today? Did you enjoy chillism? Babysitting the retards?
I wouldn't call that what I do, but concrete was a prominent feature in there, and it's so funny how much I irritate him.
Yeah, he doesn't like me either, and it's probably because of the way that I feel about you. Welcome, Hakima. I'm just sitting here saying nice things to my future wife, Monica.
Roger, I was disappointed yesterday. Sorry.
Disappointed in what?
I didn't hear your take on my room about the crime of being white, and I didn't want your feedback on it.
Oh, I fell asleep. Sorry.
Well, that says a lot, and we can turn into something now. It was so entertaining that you fell asleep.
No,
And okay.
it was a super long day. I had gotten up at like 4 a.m., so it was a really long day. Akiba, have you seen Monica's photograph? The PTR? Yeah, isn't it hot, huh? Do you notice the gold chain? Kind of looks like somebody else's bling.
Oh wow, list of grievances that she had. Yeah, you guys have came a long way. Probably.
What? Monica, you got grievances? Are we fighting?
You know what I'm talking about. She know what I'm talking about. When she had it was about 2 years ago maybe. She was talking about some list of rooms she got recorded. She had a list of grievances. Somebody you didn't treat her right. Something happened. She was felt slighted or treated unfair. I forgot the context. Sorry.
I'm very gentle with her. Nikita, have you met Chi-Chi?
Oh yeah, I'm familiar with Chi-Chi.
How familiar?
About as much familiarity you get for a person I heard speak about it 3 different times, 3 different rooms. Your room particularly. I know Chi-Chi don't take no shit. He'll cuss you out. I heard him cuss you out a couple times.
How many dicks do you think Chi-Chi's sucked?
That's out of my realm of knowledge. I have no idea.
Yeah, you know those things where like they got a big giant gumball machine, and if you can count how many gumballs are in it, you win a big prize. Like this is kind of the same kind of question. Like how many dicks do you think Chi-Chi's sucked?
You probably can ask him. He might tell you if any or how many.
Monica, are you there? I shared a link in the chat you might find interesting if you haven't seen it already.
Thanks, guys.
Have we gotten to the bottom of why Nathan changed his PTR?
You have to ask him directly. I don't know. I asked him what his intent was, and he never really answered.
I was in that room earlier. They had a fucking hour-long discussion about whether fish get thirsty or not. They had Brad arguing and shit. Like, are y'all fucking serious? You gonna argue about whether fucking fish get thirsty or not? I could not believe that shit.
Wait, the fact that Brad was involved makes it even more funnier. I hate that I missed it just to hear Brad say.
And it was serious. Like, it wasn't a laughing matter. It was chat GPT and they scientific thoughts of this shit. I'm like, y'all cannot be that bored. Like, what? I guess I was bored too. I sat there and listened to the bullshit, so I'm guilty. But what the fuck?
Akiman, are you aware that taxpayer dollars here in the U.S. went to a study that put fish on treadmills?
I wonder what they gathered from that shit.
They were trying to test the stress on them in certain situations. But yeah, we put fish on treadmills.
Good old US of A. That's capitalism hard at work right there, Roger. That is capitalism hard.
That ain't got nothing to do with capitalism.
Yes, it do. They run out of shit to spend money on, so they got to keep spending for the economy. So they're gonna make up shit to fucking spend money on.
I think the fucking taxpayers should pay me for the shit I do on this app, opening these rooms. Put in a good solid 8 hours today.
I wonder who paying you to be so Islamic focused? That gotta be a check coming with that. You going way too high.
What does Islamophobic mean to you?
I don't know. I guess persons don't like it.
It's racism, right?
What's it talking about?
Same as racism, right?
Kind of, so they're the same group, I guess.
Wait, Islam's a race now?
Oh, definitely not. I said it's the same concept. I guess it falls in the same group of not liking it.
Why were we interested in propping up and protecting and keeping away from scrutiny a group of people that believe that the perfect human that's ever walked the earth fucks little girls? Like shouldn't we all hold hands and unite and say, hey, that's not a good thing?
I think what you miss, and it's pretty big what you miss, is that Muslims don't worship Muhammad. He's just a messenger from God, and like, whether no matter what you say about him or anyone else, like nobody's perfect, and like, and God would choose just about anybody to get his message through. So like, I think you're missing that. Right? No one worships Muhammad. He's a messenger.
You know, one of my favorite things about the old clubhouse is that you can go into some of these rooms and there'll be coaches there, like there was these Pakistanis there that.
You can't call them Packies. That's racist. But go ahead.
Packies? Yeah, well, I can do it pretty good, that accent. They kind of cornered this young lady. She must have been no older than 22 or 23, and she was talking about what you're talking about, like the scriptures, the big scriptures, and there were men there that were, they seemed like between the ages of 25 and 55, and they were kind of honing her in on what she was avoiding. She was kind of squirming around, talking about this thing about men having sex with.
I don't know nobody that looks like that who's ever trying to call me out my motherfucking name, bitch. Let me fuck up.
Oh, she woke up. And so there's somebody that taped it. It was out of this world hilarious, but basically they were spending an hour getting her to nail her down, and she said, yes, it's in the Vedas, and I believe it. It's okay. Basically, she was saying it was okay, right? And they were, you get the fuck out of this room, you fucking bitch. They were calling every kind of name. It was so hilarious. Yeah. So some of these, it's interesting. Sometimes it could be a woman that supports these kind of things,
Well, the woman that wrote it was the prophet's wife, and she's one of the more respected scholars of Islam, and like acknowledging that that they had sex when she was 9, married when she was 6, and by the way, when he met her, he was 51. When they consummated, he was 54. And she also talked about, stains, God, I don't even want to get into the details of it. I just think that if a group formed today that said, hey, the greatest dude ever is this guy, and then you talk about all the things that he's about, if he was a pedophile, people would go, oh my God, you guys are propping up a pedophile. But because he was a pedophile, 1,400 years ago, like, that makes it okay. And not only does it make it okay then, they will say, even today in 2025, that she was old enough.
That's what they were cornering this girl about. That's the exact conversation. And yeah.
Did Monica really choose equality? Monica, can you explain?
I was born being so agreeable.
Wow. Who picked equality? I'm looking around. Are you the only one in here that picked equality? The only one that's currently here. It's amazing.
If they picked it, are they honest enough to say they picked it? That's the question.
I can see who picked
They
it.
can't hide it. It's on their profiles. This is like
On
the
your
biggest
profile.
self-outing ever. It's hilarious. They just did it. It's so funny. You just noticed and they just did it.
What Monica? You can see what they posted.
Yeah, you pick Liberty. The top left, you see the color purple?
Yeah. Oh, the
That
people.
was an ironic. Yeah, and Kima picked Justice for blue and Dolly picked Justice. Justice is not a bad one. I can make the argument for equality of opportunity, but not equality of outcome or equity.
So women aren't equal to men.
In what way?
Well, they should have equal protection under the law, and I think that
Yes.
those that ask for equal, equal outcomes or even equal opportunities are, going against the idea that you should have equal protection under the law. What you're asking for with equal outcomes and equal opportunities is to have special treatment, and I don't think you should have special treatment. But here's an example.
Well, wait a minute. I think those are two different things, though, Roger. But go ahead.
Well, when people say that, hey, I'm not for equal outcomes, but I'm for equal opportunities, I first think of okay, what if you were a professional ball player and you were like, I should have the opportunity to try out for the New York Yankees. If the New York Yankees don't think that you're good enough, they don't need to give you an opportunity to try out. And so, no, you cannot force an opportunity for people. You have to earn opportunities.
Roland Fryer said something in his interview with Barry Weiss at the University of, I think it was Arizona, or it's not a very old interview, about a year old. And he said something that really struck me. He said the DEI had noble purposes. The desire to give opportunity to people who are truly disadvantaged is a good one. But they mismanaged it and bungled it. And he said there are diamonds in the rough that stay in the rough because people don't see their potential. They're not given the opportunity to shine. And then there's coal in the jewelry shops that are rocks. Let's do rocks, not coal. So we're polished and paid attention to, and every ounce of their limited shine is maximized and amplified. And that's my example.
What do you have on in the background?
I'm sorry, it's loud.
No,
Professor of Rock.
What is it?
Professor of Rock YouTube channel.
But can I ask you a question? Why do you have a loud TV on and then you talk here? What's going on, Monica?
I didn't know it was that disturbing. I apologize.
Well, look, I'm living through it. I'm just wondering if I can hear it that loud, that you must hear it even louder, and I'm just wondering how you get through can you hear me and the TV right now?
Yes.
Well,
No, she can't. She can't hear you with the TV.
You're better at
Yes, I can't hear
multitasking.
him on the TV.
You're better at multitasking than I am, Monica.
Oh, Monica, you can hear the TV and listen to everybody else. Yeah, because you've been
Did anyone want to comment on my commentary of Roland Fryer?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Before you do, Monica, can we do a room on Roland Fryer at some point?
You want me to start it now? Can we have a replay?
I'll tell you what. If you want to start a room right now about Roland Fryer, you can title it. I will. I don't even need to mod. You can open it right here in the muff.
Give me the keys. Thank you.
Okay. I'm gonna give you the keys. Rich, go ahead while we.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, Timok, have you ever trained any kudo or no?
Trained what?
Kudo.
Kudo.
It's Kyokushin mixed with more judo, more grappling and stuff like that. It's like Kyokushin.
I trained at a time where the more Kyokushin guys. So I trained with a few Kyokushin guys, and then separately I would train with some judo guys.
Okay. Yeah, there's one called kudo that it's like a amorphous Kyokushin, but adding more judo grappling. That's it. Pretty good stuff.
That's correct.
Monica, go ahead and open it, and then I will go ahead and funnel people over. The Roland Fryer stuff is important.
Do you have a preference on the title? How far back do you want me to go? When he was cancel culture from Harvard, or?
Monica, this is going to be your room. This is going to be your show. Go ahead and just open it up, and I'm there to just absorb your wisdom.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Hey, who is Roland Fryer? What's going on with Google?
Yeah, who is Roland Fryer?
He's a Harvard professor.
What is his?
I think he was, if I'm not mistaken, I think he was like one of the youngest ones to get tenure.
And what's he? Everybody.
What's the scandal?
He was, he was suspended at Harvard or something, and then he ended up asking to come back. I don't remember what the scandal was around him.
Yeah, let Monica explain it now. But Mojo, you should know, right?
That's why we're about to do an entire room about it. It's coming right now. Let me see if she's set it up here.
You're gonna marry her, so you better know what you're marrying first, Monica.
Yeah, well, listen. You don't
jump right in like that, Mojo.
You're sounding jealous.
No, I'm a free loving guy,
I'm sorry, it was false sexual allegation.
What's
I
that?
think he was doing something. He came up with some study that was not very woke, and so I think they were kicked out, and some girl charged him with sexual harassment or something.
It sounds like Trump and everything is more interesting.
Trump Epstein,
and the rest of the U.S. government, the UK government, Mossad, and CIA, that's more interesting to vote for.
There used to be a comedian, a black chick, and they sang out downtown Manhattan Village, and she collect the crowd, and in a comedy show, she would go, the power of pussy, the power, and everybody started laughing. That was one of her lines. Nye, can you say the power of the pussy?
I sure can, but I'm not going to do it like that.
Yeah, you gotta do it. Either you or what's that girl?
Wait, hold on. I gotta close my ears. I can't be listening to this.
She used to do it. She was black, so it came out really. It was the best. The power of the. Yeah.
I am not. Time out. I'm trying to put my last story in so I can get off work. I refuse. Not in this room.
Hey, Thomas, you done came a long way from the movie. You wanted to get taught how to do some moves, and now you're talking about. You done came a long way.
Hey, Hakima, you know movies aren't real, right?
Are you serious?
Okay.
Wrestling's real.
Yeah, wrestling's real. Yeah, they really hate each other.
I'm talking about that glow wasn't real. You wasn't going.
It was real. Everything is real. It's just that.
Rich.
Much had Dungeons and Dragons life, ain't you, Hakima? Everything is real.
I wish you wasn't real rich.
Your mom should have swallowed you, Hakima.
I think your mom did swallow you. That's why you came out like this.
What the hell was it?
You went through the wrong end. You went through a vagina. You went through a fucking mouth.
Hey, not everybody can be retarded like you, Hakima.
The definition of it.
Mecca is in Chicago.
Rich has been activated.
What?
I mean, I haven't heard your voice all day. Now you're here talking shit. I say that humorously, of course, Rich.
I've been busy today.
That's good. That's cool. It's good to have a life. It's good to have things to do.
Y'all want to hear something funny? I'm staying with my son and my daughter-in-law. We're waiting in the night. She
Your name is Crash.
Oh God, he was crashing out. What? He said.
Hold on, everyone. The link to Monica room is up above, and I'm gonna count down backwards from 10, and I'm gonna end this room. So everyone click on that link so they can go over there. I'm just gonna start counting. Just click that link that's posted up top. 10, 9.
Church. And what I'm doing right now is I'm talking about his work with education. And this is a Black economist. So he said what he did. And Serendipity, can I mod you so you can help me? Nye, would you like to mod this space too? And I think that would be enough for the mods. Like, we'll keep the mod panel to 4 and see how it goes. And that way you guys can bring people up while I set the stage for Roland Fryer. I'm so thrilled and honored that Roger is going to let me talk about Roland Fryer because he really is truly one of my favorite Americans currently living. And Thomas Sowell, and there's a handful of others, Victor Davis Hanson. But Roland Fryer started out with very limited resources. He was raised by his grandmother. And he actually is incredibly funny too and witty and arrogant, but arrogant with competency. So it's like he deserves to be a little cocky, right? Because if you're confident and you have the skills that equal your confidence, then it's not narcissism. It's just accurate. So Roland Fryer, I said earlier, won a prestigious award as a Black economist. He's done amazing research in education, and he said what we did with the kids is we bribed them. We paid them to make good grades. And people were like, oh, you can't do that. Well, we did, and it worked. And then we offered classes for their parents, after-school classes, financial literacy classes, functional classes for their parents, and I don't know if he paid them too, but he might have. And the parents came, and they became invested in the kids' education even more than they might have already been. And it became a culture in school, and so even the schools with very limited resources, the kids did okay. And I just thought that was great. That is from a Barcelona lecture that he did, and that's one of. When he came out with his police study, I did research on him, and I found that education video. I got it to Clubhouse or replay education. That's what I do. I'm looking for it really quickly to put it in the chat because it is old. It's 13
The
years
reason I
old.
hated Clubhouse is
He flew to
because they started,
Barcelona, and the title of this video is Roman Fryer, Racial Inequality in the 21st Century, the Declining Significance of Discrimination. And,
now they don't, and now I spend time with them.
yeah. So let me pause while I fetch this link. Does anybody have any comments so far?
You said this is old, Monica. What has he been doing lately?
So in about, let's see, was it 2018, 2019? Around that time, could have been a couple years off, he did a police study, and he went around the country visiting different police precincts, and he studied the tendency for cops to use lethal force and excessive force among Americans. And his premise was that there was racial discrimination in the use of lethal force for Black Americans in our country. And he had his research pulled, and he had his data, statisticians or whatever, and they came out with no. In fact, there was no racial discrimination in the use of lethal force against Black male Americans primarily. He did find there was evidence in racial discrimination in the use of excessive force. But what happened was because everybody thought it was general knowledge that the police were actively trying to hunt and kill Black Americans, they rejected his paper. So after he ran this work, he said that can't be right. He replaced all those people and hired a whole new crew to run the numbers. And he came out with the same results. So when I would bring this to Thugga Biden, he would say, yeah, but there's something wrong with the study. It's not quite accurate. You're making me like blah, 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 blah. However,
The platform, but
And that's what I meant. That's why I did the room, because I was in Jen's room. Jen had her own. But I didn't know it was gonna trigger you like that. So you looking at my question of me asking you that, like, bitch ass nigga. And I didn't even say bitch ass nigga, but that's what you think in your mind. Like, it's like, no, I just asked you simply, like, you know,
listen,
stop
man.
acting like you didn't need the people, because you did need the people. And you still need the people. To be honest with you, there's some good creators on Clubhouse.
Listen, man, I tell you this, right? Grant's got a point. You know, at the end of the day, right? You gotta listen to my elders sometimes. You know, and listen, I'm in Aquarius, man. I've got a short fuse, a very short fuse, man.